Hello and welcome back to another Demis Hellen tutorial. Today we are looking at Evade by Soundspot, and I'm just going to show you how I've added some extra detail and depth and just a bit more crispiness on the top to this low mid bass here, which sounds a bit counterintuitive with it being a low mid, but it adds a little bit more presence and keeps that sound driving through the mix. So let's just have a quick listen to how it sounds and then we'll take a look. Sounds pretty good. So let's solo the low mids, and what we have here is just a simple rhythm, but it's being controlled by Evade and its LFO tool. So what do we have? We have a few features that make this really unique. The first one being the LFO tool at the top is multi-point. So we can click here, we can click here, we can click here, and we can make multiple points and multiple curves controlling the little circles in between. So this gives us the option to create all sorts of effects like trance gates, side chaining, creating movement in drones and atmospheric pads and things like that. So it's got a wide variety of uses, and then these controls really do help to hone that in. So apart from the multi-points, we have a multi-band section on either side, controlled by these two sliders at the bottom. And as you can see, that brings in a section, and the plugin will only read this section here of the plugin. And this ties in directly with this setting here. So let's just quickly look over these settings. So the first one here, what we're going to look at is the multi-band control. So at the moment it is reading the black space, and it will only read the black space and side chain based on that. So it'll only read this little section here. So it's a really handy feature if you're wanting to hone in certain sounds, and the same applies to the highs. This can be reversed, so if you click on here, it switches it to the two outside bands, and it will only read those two sections. So it gives you a lot of power just in that alone. Also, we have a reverse section, so if you click that, it'll send it from, instead of left to right, it'll send it right to left. So that has its uses. There are so many things that you could use that for without having to actually change the pattern of your LFO at the top here. So you could use it for a build-up in a trance mix or something like that. It would work really well to create some syncopated rhythms. And obviously click that again, and we're back to where we were. This activates a visualization section. So we get a nice feedbacks on how the sound is EQ'd, and we can obviously control based on that and make our adjustments here with the frequencies if we're wanting to target certain areas. But I have it on this mode, which shows you the shape that you're creating with this. So if we was to lift this up, you can see the waveform has changed, and then that shows you how you've shaped your sound. It's got a nice little fanned out shape, and that's what we're looking for. So I'm just going to put that back to roughly where it was. And what we have here is 5 control knobs which are in aid to shape your sound. So in the center we have the mix knob, and this is essentially 0, nothing is affected, and then if you put it to 100, it's 100% affecting the sound that is being input. So as you can see here, the PWM, the pulse width modulation control, is set to plus 15%. This is a bipolar knob, and you can control basically the start points of your LFO tool at the top. So you can see it's at 15%, just adds a little bit more humanization, takes it away from that perfectly machine precision engineering that it is. So let's just have a listen to what that does. So it just gives you a little bit of control on how the shape sounds. It's like a refining tool over this, so you don't have to go in and keep shaping it. It just gives you a little bit more control with ease. Now we have a mid-side section here. As you can see, it's set to -6, so it's swaying more to the mids. And what this is doing essentially is if you pump it all the way to the left, it is going to sidechain only the mids, and that is it. The sides are just going to operate freely with no sidechain attached, and that can create some huge sound. Not affecting the sides, but just the mids will give you a nice thick sound in terms of its presence in the mix. The sides are going to just shine on through, and then the same applies if you send it to the sides. The mids are going to take priority with no side chaining whatsoever. And it's a really handy feature, and you can see I've just turned it a little bit to the mids, so nothing too drastic. So it's a really handy feature, and we may look at that in the future. Here we have the smoothing section. So as you can see, and I mentioned earlier, we have an end point and a start point, and these are not connected. If you look at most tools, the end point matches the output, and if you move that, they'd move together up and down. But these are independent, which makes it a lot better, and as a result of that, you will get a bit of clicking, because you can see it goes from here back down to 0, or wherever you've got it set. And this is what the smooth tool does. It just gets rid of the clicks and the pops at the start, and obviously you can use that as a shaping tool as well. Let's just have a listen. So that's the smooth tool. And finally, we have the phase knob. And if you look at where the Soundspot logo is here, you can see a little white bar up here. And this is a start point for Evade to read from. So now it's going to tell Evade to start reading from this point instead of the beginning. So you get a little bit more of a choppy sound. So it has its uses, and you can create some really interesting textures using that feature. And that is back to 0. So that is the Evade plugin in a nutshell, and as you can see with this sound, what we've done is we've used the multiband for the higher frequencies, and I've bypassed everything up from 4.6 kilohertz onwards to let some of that sparkle come through. Whereas it is totally cut off using just the sidechain alone, and that's what you'd get, and you'd have to build extra layers to add some of that detail back in, because you're starting to lose it from other parts, and you don't always necessarily want the detail from this part, but in this case I do. So bringing this in, I could bring in some of the lower, like get some more of the mid detail in there, but really I just want some of that top sparkle to kick through, and it helps the sound kick through the mix better. So it's hardly noticeable in the mix, but it's adding that little extra detail back into the bass. So that is Evade. I hope you enjoyed that, and you can head over to Soundspot's website to go and grab that. If you have enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments down below. Also hit the like button so we can get it sharing around the community and get more people interested in production and seeing more of this. And finally, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the bell icon and you'll see my 3 weekly uploads, Monday, Wednesday and Fridays. So that'll just notify you first so you can see it. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.